The Vincent van Gogh by Jessica Hopsicker. If it looks like shit, clean it. If it is shit, wear gloves. God damn it! My scream shattered the sanctity of the cold and silent morning. Bleary-eyed early risers and sad late-night stragglers paused and looked about the sales floor to see where the sudden outburst of expletives erupted from. Churchgoers were just starting to stream in on their way to Mass, stopping in like they always did on the Lord's Day, dressed in their Sunday best. I was in the men's room, armed with a mop and no consideration for my fellow man on that wretched morning. Wincing and gagging, I swore and retched, dry heaving as tears streamed from my eyes and my nose ran and my stomach churned. I was faced with a terrible sight in which no soul should have to endure. The collar of my polo was popped up and buttoned high upon my chin. With my scarf wound tightly around my head, doubling as a face mask, it did nothing to cover a stench so foul that it lingered on my taste buds. Never in my life had I witnessed so much excrement, nor thought that a human being was capable of producing so much. Before me the mess swirled, spreading upon the floor and walls in hasty yet graceful brown arcs. The guy must have fancied himself a real Vincent van Gogh, for there it was, his interpretation of Starry Night, scrawled and scattered upon the ceramic restroom tiles. The radius reached far and wide, stretching almost up to the ceiling. It bespattered the white porcelain sink and dribbled down the rim of the toilet seat. The trash basket overflowed with dirty paper towels. He must have used an entire roll. Did he enjoy creating his masterpiece? I thought, fighting with my gag reflex, trying desperately not to puke and add to the unholy mess before me. Or was this some sort of freak accident? Did the pressure build up until he burst? He missed his mark a few feet from the toilet seat and just dropped his pants and went right there, I thought, piecing together a crime scene. It happened just after midnight. I could tell by the way that everything had settled and solidified for at least 6 hours. It was apparent he struggled to clean up his mess and failed. He must have watched in horror as the prodigious shit stain only spread, never actually cleaning it. He could be one of those sick ones out there, I mused with a hardening lump in the pit of my stomach. Then he might get off on that sort of thing. What if he was a serial shitter, befouling public restrooms all the way down the Dixie Highway? Instinct told me it was an accident. My biggest mistake was leaving his work of art to settle overnight. The massive stain hardened like an industrial-strength bonding agent. The door was shut tight, sealing it all in. It was worse than a crime scene in there. It was a crime against humanity. Until that point had gone by with a hastily scrawled out-of-order sign artfully taped to the door. After a customer informed me of the grave state of the restroom. "Dude," he said just before the bars let out, "someone took a massive dump in the men's room. I mean, it is like..." He paused, swallowing before making a sweeping gesture with both of his arms. He pantomimed an explosion. "It's all over the place, like there is shit everywhere," he added. His voice was somber, as if he had a hard time getting the sight of it out of his head. His description was vivid enough that he didn't want or need to know any more about it. "Great," I muttered, hoping it was an exaggeration, even though I knew it wasn't. I could tell by the look in his eyes he witnessed something undeniably horrific. "I am so not dealing with this right now." I shook my head. "I just can't bring myself to do it. Nope. I'm not going to look. I know. I'll leave the mess for first shift," I schemed, knowing full well that I would have to do with it eventually. "Yeah, you should leave it," he agreed. "Or just set the whole store on fire." He paused, his gestures enacting another explosion, and he nodded knowingly. "You know what? Just quit right now. That's what I would do. I'm just saying, I don't envy you at all. Good luck," he added, pocketing his cigarettes in his wallet and shuffling out into the night. "I wish," I muttered after him, envying him for his freedom. It had been a busy night in Drunk Central. I recalled the customer in question, the one that may have made the mess, as he wobbled and hobbled up to the register. He spoke through gritted teeth and a clenched jaw. "I need to use the restroom." His voice wavered and sweat beaded upon his brow. His skin was pale as if he was light-headed from the sheer exertion of holding it in, like Mount Vesuvius about to blow. With an air of indifference, I raised my hand and pointed to the far wall, which was adorned with the big block bilingual black-lettered decals that read, "Restrooms, Baños." I watched him totter off in that direction, clenching for all it was worth. It was him, all right, I thought, piecing together the events that led to the most prolific shit explosion that I had ever seen in my entire life. There was a new co-manager on shift that morning. I missed the old one, even though she was always late. The new second in command had an air about him that oozed self-loathing. I wondered how long he would last before he was transferred or fired. At the register, I gave him an imploring look and a nervous glance toward the men's room. He only grumbled to himself and stayed where he was, paying no heed to the out-of-order sign. I had not looked inside the bathroom myself. How bad could it be? I wondered, and remembered my previous customer's vivid description. He had witnessed the atrocity that had been sealed up tight in the bathroom for 6 hours. Working up the courage to take the plunge, I sucked in air and held my breath. Gripping the doorknob, I thrust my head past the threshold, unable to propel myself any further into the blast radius of the bathroom. The automatic light kicked on, illuminating the horror before me. "Oh, fuck!" I muttered, trying to keep my mouth shut lest any of the mess would somehow wind its way inside me through an open orifice. The brown-stained walls closed in around my head, and I hastily backed out of there, shutting the door behind me. Pressed up against the opposite wall of the bathroom hall, I let all the air out of my lungs. My legs gave way, and I slumped down to the floor, deflated for a second. The mess was worse than I thought. My customer's all too vivid description paling in comparison to the utter destruction that was wrought within the restroom. He was right, though. The only way to ever get that bathroom truly clean again would be to set it ablaze. My mind went back to the gas pumps outside. I could quit and blow the whole place to high heaven, or I could do the responsible thing. Though he was unaware of it, the co-manager and I were at an impasse. He would assuredly make me clean it if he saw what was behind that door. There was no way he was going to do my dirty work. With my collar popped and my scarf wrapped tightly around my head, I gathered and armed myself with an extensive arsenal of cleaning supplies, including pockets full of disposable gloves. There was an array of spray bottles hooked to my belt, a fresh pack of industrial-strength paper towels, and an entire roll of can liners draped around my neck. I also carried the plastic bathroom caddy that held anything else I needed in my treacherous quest to clean the restroom. If worse came to worse, I had a lighter in my pocket, and I vowed to take the whole store down with me. I entertained the notion of making a pit stop to the beer coolers, for I did not want to go into this mess sober. I'd at least need a few shots of something to bolster my waning reserves. I took a minute, standing in front of the door, shook my head, stretched my back, and slowly counted to 3. I hyperventilated as if attempting to break a free-diving record, standing in the middle of a line that stretched down the narrow hallway. For only one bathroom was open, and I interrupted the morning flow of everyone who had to go on their way into work. Can I go in there?" a man asked as he stood behind me, pointing to the forbidden door, clearly labeled out of order. There was a newspaper tucked under his arm. "Not unless you want to clean it," I said, and I motioned to the mop bucket. Steam rose from the hot, soapy solution of however many cleaning chemicals I put in there. "Seriously? Can you? Please?" I pled in a last-ditch effort to avoid the task myself. He scoffed and walked away, but not before he had stopped to drop the newspaper back down to where he picked it up. He left to go on his way to occupy another bathroom stall in another convenience store. He didn't even pay for the newspaper before he planned to defile it in the bathroom. Once again, I shook my head, counted to 3, and prepared to take the plunge. I opened the door, slipped inside, and screamed. "Oh, no! For the love of God and everything holy!" I gagged, pleading with my maker and taking his name in vain in the same sentence. "Touchdown! Jesus fucking Christ! Why?" I shouted as I gripped the mop handle with both hands and wrung hard, fiercely scrubbing away at the mess. My pant legs were rolled over and pulled up to my knees lest the hems would be dragged through the filth. The toes of my non-slip work shoes barely touched the shore of a man-made lake of brown bilge water. I balanced precariously as I forced my way to the back of the bathroom, swearing and grumbling the entire time. Oh, God! Oh, shit! 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 No shit! Shit! No! 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 Shit! I didn't care if the customers heard me. I wanted them to know what kind of hell I had to endure. I mopped at least 3 bucket loads of clean, scalding hot water to scour away the fecal matter masterpiece. The new co-manager would have had a coronary if he had to clean up that mess. He probably would have quit right then and there. I couldn't imagine what kind of reaction my boss would have if she saw it. I fantasized about locking her inside if she had been on the clock that morning. Inching my way deeper inside, I sprayed and scrubbed down the walls, sink, and toilet seat. I damned the man and his explosive diarrhea the entire time. It took an hour and more than a few fresh mop heads to get it all unglued and cleaned up. I did not know how many disposable rubber gloves I went through. When all was said and done, I loaded up 5 trash bags of crumpled up brown-stained paper towels into the wheelbarrow and tossed them into the dumpster. After I cleaned out, I went to the register and asked for change while I purchased a cheap bottle of bottom-shelf vodka. I needed a roll of quarters, for it was undoubtedly laundry day at the apartment complex. The smell lingered, clinging to the fibers of my polo shirt and khaki pants. It burned inside my nostrils and was ingrained into my brain. I went home that morning and I stood in the shower, disassociating from reality, until the hot water ran cold and I scrubbed my skin red and raw. The end. Jessica Hopsicker works full-time in a cemetery in Cincinnati, Ohio, while moonlighting as a copywriter. She is also writing her forthcoming novel entitled Dark Days on the Dixie Highway, Diary of a Third-Shift Zombie. It is a horror tale of her whole shitty experience of working nights at a gas station.